This is the part 2 of the video regarding why OFWs leave the Philippines to work abroad. If you haven't watched that video yet, I'll just place the link on the description. If you want to watch it, you can click it. So now I'm going to talk about a very sensitive topic in the hopes of creating awareness and in-depth realization as to why OFWs remain broke despite working abroad. Now, sad to say that some families expect that when a family member works abroad and making a greater amount of money will solve all the problems of the world. They always expect that the transition happens overnight and that they have a golden ticket to success if a family member works abroad. But that's not the case. Now, let us dissect and dive into a few reasons why OFWs still experience financial problems despite working abroad, and hopefully by the end of the video, we will be able to rectify the problem. Number 1 would be over-dependency. This means that we have unrealistic perceptions. As I've mentioned earlier, that some of the families are expecting that working abroad and earning a greater amount of money will solve all the problems of the world. And for the side of the OFW, monthly remittances seems very endless. Some families or relatives solely rely their lives on the OFW. They would just easily request on things that they don't necessarily need, like gadgets or shoes. Number 2 would be overborrowing. Overborrowing may happen even before an OFW goes abroad. This happens when he or she needs to borrow money in preparation for departure, and as well as thinking of ways and options whether can the family sustain without me. It's like borrowing money to pay a debt, when in fact this does not solve the problem. This just adds up one problem to another. Number 3 would be financial illiteracy. Now, only 25% of the Filipino adults are financially literate. By that, this means that Philippines is at the bottom 30 of the Financial Literacy Survey Standard & Poor. This means that 75 million Filipinos have no idea about inflation, interest, insurance, stock market, or even the idea of bank savings or bank account, while most families are just dependent on monthly remittances. Now, the 4th one would be overspending. Now, in the context of overspending, this applies to both parties, the recipient and the consignee. The recipient means the family member who receives the monthly remittance. Sad but true, but this monthly remittance, once claimed by a family member, flies into the air and poof, gone in a split second. They buy the unnecessary instead of focusing onto the essentials. Now, as per consignee, which means that the sender of the money, while working abroad, earning more than usual, we tend to be hooked up on things that we don't need. We lurk onto red tags or even splurging on branded items even if we don't need it. Some OFWs even own 2 or 3 or 4 credit cards. It is okay to reward yourself once in a while, but always know your limitations and always stick to your budget. So how are we going to solve the problem then? So first, for over-dependency, given the fact that we all want to give our families a better life, we need to have a sit down and be honest, talk it through, and explain carefully to the family that we need to set realistic long-term goals, and that they need to understand that working abroad is not a guarantee, that anytime you may lose your job, and if you're the breadwinner, then this will be your worst nightmare. Saving should go to emergency expenses, education, food, and of course our future plans. Now, the second one would be overborrowing. This is the most common mistake, and we must stop this. It's like adding a problem to another problem. Like for agencies that impose high interest rates and require a lot of paperwork, the hassle of compliance and all that, most Filipinos go to the easier way, which is the loan sharking, or better known as 5-6. Now, loan sharking is a predatory lending of money with extremely high interest rates, typically under illegal conditions. In my own opinion, opting to this may solve the problem for the meantime, but again, loan sharking defeats the purpose of an easy way out because of high interest rates and because they operate with smaller loans compared to banks and other legit lenders. They try to earn more by jacking up your interest rates. And in most cases, interest and fees can equal to the amount you borrow. So, to solve the problem, do not loan unless you really need it. Third would be financial illiteracy. How are we going to solve the problem? Now, in my earlier days in working abroad, I neither have saved nor invested anything or on something. I loaned money for nothing. So why did I do that? It's because I was financially illiterate. I consulted a financial advisor because I felt that something was wrong. I felt the need to be educated. I didn't have any savings or investment. I didn't know where my money went. And thankfully, I got through all this and managed to correct all my mistakes. I just needed to share that. There are several government agencies that provide seminars and financial literacy education. You may Google it and choose what's best for your needs. We need to properly allocate our savings, our spendings, invest on something so that when you retire, you will have a fallback. The last one would be the overspending. Now, ask yourself, is this really necessary? My parents would always remind me, do not live beyond your means. And a friend posted on his Facebook saying one can still enjoy traveling and at the same time save up for the storm. Some have this don't care attitude and bury themselves in debt. Indeed, he's very correct. But do not deprive yourself. You can still enjoy your hard-earned money, but stick to the budget. Also, in the side of the OFW, it's very exhilarating to see red tags for the reduction, buy one take one in all sorts of sales and promotion. We always tend to take chances on these things without noticing that we have maxed out our credit cards. And likewise, avoid branded items. Maybe one would be enough and that's it. Always remember, no matter how expensive your OOTDs are, no matter how branded your items are, if it doesn't fit you, then you have to move on. By the end of the day, OFW or not, you must not forget to save, and save. Spend your money wisely, invest on something, so that when you retire, you will just have to Netflix and chill all the time. Surround yourself with people who will not take advantage of you. Avoid the opportunists and the parasites. You can also make a checklist of your expenses so that you will know where your money goes. I hope you like this video and I hope you learned something from it. Please share this to your friends who can relate. Thanks. Okay, bye.